Welcome back, Excel super users. It's been a quite some time right now, and I took a holiday break as I need you guys to go through the entire basics of Excel better. Again, I've covered almost the chunk of or 50% of the basics, and now I would like to move our target component to intermediary and advanced of Excel 365. And you know that this particular class will be available for you in my iSelf Academy snippet and Excel snippet channel, and this is gonna be our next agenda. Again, if you are missed or if you haven't participated in the earlier session, please don't worry about it. Again, you have all of them in our YouTube channel. You can just go and watch all my video, and you can get all my Excel files there to learn more about it. Again, we are going to the serious mode right now, where we're going to learn a lot of skills and a lot of knowledge sharing is going to happen in the next few weeks. Again, I'm planning to add another 20 more class for this particular Excel session, and then this is going to populate for the next probably 4 weeks or even a little more than that. So let's see how we're going to work on these dimensions a little better. I'm sorry guys, I think that my internet is going for a toss, so I'm seeing my teams are going up and running and down. Again, if you closely watch this, we are about to see 30 most used ribbon functions, and I'm trying to add almost 120 formulas. I will not call all of them as most used formulas in Excel, but we will be learning them all in our near future. Again, this is on class 6 today, and then we will go until class 25. Again, this is the major chunk that we're going to deal around with. We'll talk about ribbon functions, we'll talk about formulas, and many more. Again, when I go for the ribbon functions, this is the ribbon function that I want to start with. Again, today we'll go for a few more dimensions on the home tab. Again, home tab has a lot of subgroups here, and you will have a lot of information. I'll just give a fair idea about what we have in the home tab for us, but we will be only concentrating on certain aspects deep, and those certain aspects will be added in our list. And we are about to see around 30 different formulas or ribbon functions from home tab to view tab here, and this is the 30 functions that we will be seeing, which most of the people will use. And then I'm adding a bigger list here where I have 120 plus formulas here. Again, this is going to go vary from statistics, math and trigonometry, which I missed, lookup references, logical test or logical formulas, finance formula, few advanced text formulas. Again, there are a few things which we will not be using a lot, but again, we have done more of the text formulas in our basics itself. We'll see missed few date and time functionalities, and information function, database function, and queue functionality. Again, I'm interested to touch somewhere around 126 formulas. That's why I didn't mention the numbers here, because this formula might go a little bigger, because I didn't touch the statistical formula completely on certain logics, and then I didn't touch the trigonometry formula at all here. So again, these are the functions. Again, I've mentioned what are the formula that we're going to see. What of them are, most of them are used, and there is a lot of things that we will see are rarely used functionalities as such too. So again, I'm going to touch around 126 formulas. I gave the breakup here for you. Statistical formula, I'm going to teach you 15, math and trigonometry 10, lookup and reference is what we're going to concentrate a lot, because that's going to have a hell lot of formulas. We're going to have 30 formulas, and then we'll have a lot of dynamic spilled array formulas followed up in here. Again, one of a student who asked me, Mr. Vignesh, and I think that he will go through these dimensions. Again, he is not a part of our morning session. Probably he will be sitting on our evening sessions for us, where we will learn more about what he want to learn here. Again, Vignesh, hope you got the links here, so you will be getting all those dimensions completely in this data. Again, let's go into it, and then we are going to learn a lot. And if you are gonna help your friends too, please give this link to as many friends as possible, all your colleagues, all your college fellow people who want to learn Excel. Give it to them. This will be a very handy tool. And if you are new to my YouTube channel, please don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon, because we are about to get another 20 more 1 full hour video on Excel alone. Again, I am planning to teach a lot more than Excel alone, so we are going to see how we're going to use all these dimensions a little better. I think that I have some difficulty in my internet, so as I don't have any people coming up on the live sessions here, so I will stop my Teams link, and then I'll continue my recording from the other end of it, because this is unnecessarily creating a lot of mess for me when I to teach it. So it's keep popping up. Again, if you are looking for the class files here, you have the link below here. You can click this link below, which will take me to my, or which will take you to my SharePoint, where you can see all the 6 class files here. And then I have the YouTube channel link for the English version of it for both the sessions. And then I am not adding the Tamil version in my Excel snippet channel. I preferably add them at the fag end of it as a complete playlist. You will be getting in any one of these channels both English and Tamil version of this particular program. So without further ado, let's go into the first 2 topics today. I think I can able to cover the first 4 topics today. That's what my agenda is all about. Let's see how much we are covering in this data sets here. So let me take up a brand new data set. Let me just move this to another brand new sheet, and then I'll start with the topic 2. So when we go for the logic, again we would have talked about this in our day 1 and day 2 session of our Excel. Again, I'm reiterating that again here. So what we're going to do today is we are going to talk about the functionality of the ribbons, and then we saw a lot of formulas. I touched around 75 formulas already. We're going to touch another 126 more. So 200 plus formulas is what I'm teaching you in this session. So I think that's going to be more than enough. In some situation, I'm not going to go too deep into it. In some situation, I would like to use the formulas as deep as I can. So we will concentrate a lot on pivot table, power pivot, power query, and then lookup formulas better. In today's agenda, I'm going to start with a simple logic which is called the copy clipboard option. Again, this is something which came way back, or when I started my career, I learned it. Again, this will be very helpful tool for us when you want to combine the data. Again, we have formulas, or we have power queries and power pivots today, and we do have one more dimension called consolidate. Again, if you want to combine a data put together in one dimension, you can do that. And then again, the combining formula, if you want to get a single cell reporting, then we will be using the logic called sum if and sum ifs. So let's see what is this copy clipboard option is all about. So when I say copy clipboard option, again, whenever we go for any of the computer programming where we will use copy and paste, I don't know, who felt that that's the necessary tool to do a lot of things. Probably I appreciate the guy, and then whose thought process was it, who has really found out that and who has implemented that, and I'm going to give hats off and thank you for all of them. So copy clipboard option is going to be a time saver for us. So let's see how we're going to use it, why we are using it. Again, I'm giving a simple example in here. So let's see how we're going to do that. So I'm going to just create a small set of numbers here. So I want the number to go until 50 here. So I'm going to use a fill series keyboard shortcut, and then I'm going to add a number here. You can do this by a formula. The reason why I did a fill series is I just want to know the number of line items that I'm going to do it. And I'm going to select this and then populate it. Now we can see that I have a data set which is created in less than 10 to 15 seconds, and I've created number 1 to 50. Now I want this data to come in a specific dimension. So what I want is I want all of them to be in a column, so I don't need them anymore in a formula. So I converted that into the latest version, or I used a keyboard shortcut called Ctrl+C and Ctrl+Shift+V. Probably when you go down to the video, and then when I started working on this data, when I converted it, so this would have been in your, this will be there in your keyboard shortcuts here. So now I want to put them all in one single column somewhere over here. To do this, normally we can use a formula called transpose. Again, when I go for transpose, again I cannot really make things work a little better. We have a transpose formula a little differently in the older version and little differently in the newer version. Newer version will give data dynamically, so it will be a part of our dynamic split array functionality. So I'm not going to use the transpose in here. Probably I'll be using it somewhere else, because when I started working with transpose, again it's going to change only one dimension. So the moment I press this in here, it's going to become a row here for me. Again, bringing them with multiple dimensions or multiple arrays is not going to really help me out. So I'm going to change this, or I'm going to use this as copy clipboard option. Again, if I want to use a copy clipboard option, again I need to activate it. If we have not done that before, then activation will be a very important aspect in here. Again, this is where I'm going to teach you something a little new here. Again, we talked about it in our general ideology on day 1 and day 2. In day 2 I would have done it again, and day 1 I would have given the basics of it. So when I go for Excel doesn't only have cell references or the anatomy of it. In the anatomy, we even saw about logics like tabs or menus. When I go for the menu, again in each and every menu I'll have a lot of subgroups or sub menus coming up here. So when I go for the home tab, I have clipboard, I have font, alignment, number, styles, cell, and editing. Here in our agenda, I'm going to touch copy clipboard option. The copy clipboard option is a hidden button here. Again, there's a lot of things that you can bring as a quat, or I'll call this as quick access toolbar in an expanded portion. If you want to bring a transpose option in here, you do have it. Again, this is available for you when I go and click an arrow below our format painter button. Again, this is what will pop up our list. Again, this I can bring with a keyboard shortcut if I wanted to. So again, when I click this, this pop-up will come into play. Again, this pop-up will automatically come the moment I use a keyboard shortcut called Ctrl+C and C. Again, this is a little different for us. We would have used Ctrl+C, we never used Ctrl+CC. Ctrl+CC stands for copy clipboard option pop-up menu. Again, this will happen only when my options in the copy clipboard option, the second line item, if you see, I checked it out here. If this is not checked, probably when I hit that, the functionality will work for you, but again it won't pop up and show you what's in that particular clipboard at the moment. Whether you did it once or whether you did it twice, you will not able to see that very clearly. That is the only reason why I would like to keep the option alive, so that when I use the Ctrl+CC 2 times, that's going to showcase what I've added to my clipboard completely. Again, there is one sad part here. Only on the copy front we have a keyboard shortcut. For the paste front we have to use our mouse. So that's one sad part of it. Let me just figure out whether we have any keyboard shortcuts for the paste all button too. Again, remember that again when I go for a copy clipboard option, we can go for the maximum number of 24 clipboards totally, irrespective of its height and width. So you can take all 10,48,576 rows if you wanted to, or you can take 16,384 columns if you wanted to. You can do that, but again you can only take 24 clipboards at a time. You cannot do that beyond than that. So we don't have any further facilities to increment that. Probably if I write a code separately, probably I might able to get it done. Now I told you that I'm going to use a copy clipboard option. I want all these numbers in a singular column. Many people would have thought about it, why we are building something like this and then converting it. Why can't we just add it here? Again, I'm giving you an example here, so that makes our life a little more easier. And real world scenario, we will use this to consolidated data either on a row front like we do in our today's world called Power Query. Again, we are curtailed to 24 clipboards here, so when I go down to this data, I'm going to select the data complete from top to bottom. I'm going to use Ctrl+Shift arrow down. And I told you the keyboard shortcut for copy clipboard is Ctrl+C or C 2 times. Ctrl+C. The moment I hit it, you can see on the left hand side my clipboard option comes to play. This is happening because in the option button I gave the second line checked. Normally that will not be checked, so I'm going to use this again. This will allow me to control my data set a little better, because again, please do remember it, when I use a copy clipboard option, there is a lot of weird things will also happen here. So let me tell you that. So I'm picking up a data because I'm going to pull the data in one column. So I'm copying all the data in a columnar style here. I picked up to 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, and 41 to 50, and so on and so forth. Now if I want to put them in one single column, this is where the real catch comes into play, because my system will not give you a keyboard shortcut here. I don't know whether we have Ctrl+V will work for me. I never tried it before, but I'm going to use, I don't want to take a chance right now, so I'm going to click the paste all button here. The moment I do that, you can see that the entire data populated for me from 1 to 50. There is one catch here. When I do this after converting the data into a specific dimension, once you get the desired result, don't ever keep the clipboard as it is. Don't close it directly. Instead of that, clear this data first and then close it, because if you later in your later part of your life, if you use copy clipboard option and if you have saved this workbook, you may have a chance that these data will still be there, because I have 24 clipboards to do it. I only used 5 at the moment. I have 19 more to fiddle around with it. If I do this, probably my other data will also be a part of my new data, so I never use this as my list here. So for this we use copy clipboard option. Again, I'll just try to use this again. So I'm going to say Ctrl+C, and then you can see at the bottom you have a line called 1 to 24 clip items. So when I select this, you can see them at the bottom of my screen. That should showcase here. So now I have 2 of them, now I have 3, now I have 4, now I have 5. Again, I think that I made a mistake here. Let me just redo this again. So I'm going to select this, Ctrl+C. At the bottom you can see that, Ctrl+C, you can see that how many clipboards are adding to my 24. I mentioned you can add the maximum number of 24 clipboards in an item can be used here. So now if I populate them all, it will work for you. I'll show you a real case scenario as we go forward, because the second topic is going to be a little longer than normal. So this is how we'll use copy clipboard option at a basic level. Normally when I work with the copy clipboard option, I will always work on consolidation of a data. So let's see how I consolidate of a data. I'm taking a smaller data, I'm not taking a larger data here. So let's showcase how this is going to work for me. So I'm going to minimize this and all my data sets here, and then let me go back to the data where I'm going to add our list for us. Again, I didn't add our list, so we will be getting those dimensions as we go forward. I'm just taking the data set that I've used for one of my training. So I'm going to use this particular sheet. Okay, again you can see that I have a lot of sheets coming up here. Now I want to put them all in one single sheet. I can do that. I'm going to take the last 3 years. So 2020, 2021, 2022. So let me open this. Again, this is the base of our Power Query today. So remember that we will be seeing this in the Power Query options a little later in our workout. So let me just show you how a Power Query will be used and how we are going to use these dimensions inside a Power Query for us. Again, we are coming back to the copy clipboard option. Copy clipboard option will allow you to consolidate data better. So now I have a lot of data here, and again I have a lot of information and then a lot of things coming up here. So let me just copy and paste them in a brand new sheet. So I'm going to take only this sheet into consideration. And I didn't teach you a lot more of this. As we go forward for the other dimensions, I will explain you all those dimensions one by one. So let me just delete this sheet. I'll convert this into 2022 because I just want to know which year I'm using it. In the same way, I'm going to take this data set also. So I'm putting them all in one single dimension so that it will make my life a little more easier for me to work around. So now I don't want the first sheet also. Let me just delete that and then add a 2021 here. So now I have data of 2021 and I have a data of 2022. I have a data 2020. You can see that the numberings of the invoices are continuous. Where I'm leaving in one version or in one particular year, that's where the next number starts, and then where I leave the second data set, that's where then subsequent number starts. Again, I think that I have something different here, so let me just reiterate this again. I gave a different invoice numbers here. That's okay, I don't have a problem because the continuity is still maintaining here. Now what I want, the copy clipboard option I'm about to use right now, is I'm going to consolidate the data into one. Again, when I do this, please be wise, because when you're working on these sort of data, you have to be a little more aware of what's happening in a data set, how the data sets are going to be used effectively here. To do this data work better, so I'm going to go back to my first data set. It's 2020. I want 2020 to come into play first, so I'm bringing 2020, and then I'm going to select all the data from the top to bottom. So I'm going to select all of them. I'll say Ctrl+C. So my Ctrl+C will take care of entire data. Here I already have a lot of data here, so let me just clear this once and then I'll redo this again. So now I have the data 1 for me for 2020. I'll go back to 2021. I'm going to go back to the top. Again, I'm going to leave the header here because I don't need the header here. I'm going to take the body of the data alone, Ctrl+C. That gives you the second dimension for me. And now I'll go back to the last and the final data set here. Again, I'm going to select the data in the body, Ctrl+C here. Now I got all of them, but I want the result not to come in the same sheet because I'm bringing this from the 3 different sheets here, but I want my answer to come in this blank sheet here, that to in A1. That's where I'm going to go back to my copy clipboard option. So when I click this, you can see, because this is not popping up the data for me automatically, now I'm going to say paste all. That's going to bring all my data into play. So now I got 2020 to 2022 here. Again, if you want to check, and once you're done that, clear this immediately and then check the data by adding a filter to it. So I'm going to go back to the data, add a filter to my data set, and then check whether I have 3 years here. Yes, I have 3 years of data with me. The total number of line items that I will have in here will be somewhere around 765 line items is coming up here. So I have 760. I have 765 here totally. Let me just see whether I have 765 in my other data also. So is it missing anything or what? I want to check that out. So I have 367. So let me number them up. It should be more than this. I really don't know why it is only taking. Okay, I have only 96 numbers here, so that's quite obvious. Yes, my numbers are reducing quite differently, and then I have 305 here. Yes, that's the only reason why I'm getting the numbers as. Yes, again I'm missing few datas here. It says 768, but when I consolidate here, it is only giving me 765 or 765. It is giving out. I'm missing some numbers. Either the numbers are duplicated here or the numbers are not coming as it is added to it. So when you are consolidating the data, you can bring the data into play in this particular way. So consolidation of data is possible in copy clipboard option. Again, there are much better option than this in today's system. If you're using Office 2013 version and above, you will see them all effectively here. This is how we will work with the consolidation of data using copy clipboard option. So the next logic that we will be seeing at the moment will be on the other dimensions, where we will use conditional formatting. So the first logic is done. We have done the class workout files on class 6. So we talked about copy clipboard option. Again, there is a lot more available in our data sets where we will talk about font. Again, in font you will change the fonts, you will change the formatting of the fonts, you will add thick lines and thin lines here. The borders will come into play, and the background colors and the font colors will come into play. And you can increment the data, and then you can decrease the size here. Again, for increasing size, generally we will use Ctrl+Shift and greater than symbol, which will make our data a little bigger, and then Ctrl+Shift will bring the other dimensions differently here. So you can see the data sets are growing bigger and better here. So if you want to bring this to a bigger dimension, you can do that. So normally when I use the greater than symbol and less than symbol in one of our list where we will try to build a data here. So now I'm going to just type something here, sales dashboard. So here you can reduce this size either directly by the size valuation here. So when I click this, and then when I go back to my font, I can reduce this font size. I'm going to just Ctrl+Shift and then arrow or the less than symbol, and Ctrl+Shift greater than symbol will make it bigger. So for this we'll use it. Again, this is how we can increment the font size, and we can also decrease the font sizes here. So font size keyboard shortcuts are shown in here. Again, I'm not using it in the current data. So when I use the current data, it is not growing bigger. Again, you can see that it is showing a different dimension. It's copying the data in one dimension here. So let me just take them in a separate dimension and then try to make it bigger. Again, you can see the differences are coming a little differently here. So this is how we'll use our font, and then again the alignment part where we will use the horizontal or vertical alignment, or we can just bring the clockwise movements of it. So how you want to showcase the data, and you can create indents, you can wrap the text, merge centers, and also you can do that, and you can bring in the number formatting in multiple dimensions here. So general, number, currency, accounting, short date, long date. We will not be using all of them. We'll be using few of them here. Again, these are the logics which we will talk as we go forward on each and every topic. I don't want to sit and spend a bigger time on this list. So we're going to talk about the next logic called conditional formatting. Again, this is the underrated or maybe not appreciated tool in an Excel. There is a lot of field where people don't even recognize that it is doing a wonderful job. Again, people take those options as granted. Again, when I go for conditional formatting, I'm going to use a different workbook altogether. So I've already filled them up in our data set. Let me go back to the data set. Again, I already have a bigger list here. I've even added this to our data here. So let me just show you what we are doing in these data, and then how we're going to use these data effectively. So I'm already picked up our data for us. Again, this is conditional formatting for us. Again, when I go for conditional formatting, I've already kept that day 6 functionality. I want to talk about few topics here. I touched the transfers a bit. Again, I didn't go too deep into it. I'll touch that furthermore here. I didn't talk about the order save. Again, we did that on our day 1 session. So I'm planning to start with copy clipboard option. Again, these are the data set that we already have in our link. You can use them all. Again, this is again I got it from my Guruji, and then this is gonna give a big list for us. Again, if you go for the topic front, the topic is gonna go far bigger than what we even imagined. We have 51 different way to conditional format it. Again, we can learn few of them here, not all of them, because when I pick up a conditional formatting for this, then this will take a lot of time. I'm picking up most used one, and then whatever we are using regularly, what we can use in a real world scenario, I'm gonna bring that into play. I'm interested in the first option of it. So I'm going to give a right click and move and copy this data. And then this is what I'm able to do. So now you can see that I already have a conditional formatting running through in my list. I don't need that right now. So to remove the conditional formatting, you can select the whole sheet and remove it, or you can go back to the conditional formatting. You can see a clear rule for the entire sheet here. If you still see colors, these colors are not done based on conditional formatting, they are manually created here. When I go for conditional formatting, I always request people to do it wisely, because sometimes conditional formatting will be overdone in a data set. So that will not really solve what we want to do with it. When I go for conditional formatting, there are 3 rules that I would like to keep them intact. There is a lot of rules which will not allow us to do greater things, and the default rules will curtail you to some extent, or to a greater extent, where you may not use wherever you want, whatever you want to do it. If you are looking for a proper way of using conditional formatting, advanced way of conditional formatting will allow you to do something which you wanted to create out of it. But again, in some situation we don't want to go for advanced level. A basic level will do wonders for us. When I come back to conditional formatting, this is where I'm going to touch the logical formula, or I'll call this as logical test. So logical test will always have a condition here where we will say true or false. They will get answers like that. So if the evaluation actually allows us to get the true answers, then it's going to give you a favorable result. If it is a false, it's going to give you an unfavorable result for us. Let me explain you in a much more detailed format possible by me. When I go for conditional formatting have 5 inbuilt functionality in it. The rules that I follow when I use conditional formatting will be, I will select a range before I start formatting it with a condition here. And when I do that, try to keep the condition level as less as possible. I preferably put you to the maximum size of 2, not more really than that. But in some situation, we would like to have the 3rd dimension of our data set. The 3rd dimension will really make our life a little more easier for us. So let's see how we're going to use these dimensions better. So how I'm going to use these dimensions better, we will see all of them. To work on these dimensions, let's see how we're going to use these dimensions effectively, and then we will see what else we can do with that. So I preferably request you not to go for any of these dimensions where worked on it in a specific dimension. So let's go forward for it. So if you are looking for more than 3 dimensions, again, keep the maximum size to 3, not more than that. This is our rule number 1. So let's see what we are going to do with this data. So when you are working on this data, selection will be the most important part of all. How we work with a selection, what we're going to do with the selections will all play a major role. Let's see how we're going to use that. In our current scenario, I just mentioned everything on top. When you're working on conditional formatting, you have 2 ways of doing it. One is cell-based formatting, another one is hardcode formatting. It is typically like our formulas that we talked about earlier when I gave a formula introduction on our day 2 class. A cell-based formatting is not always available in conditional formatting. That is a bad news for us. The reason why people kept that in that way, I really don't know. Probably they want us to use the advanced feature of conditional formatting from the word go, not just use the basics of the formulas here. To work on these data, so first point is, so there is only 2 places where I can able to use cell-based formatting. That's why I mentioned 2 here. Most of the formula will come as hard code formatting. I'll give an example, or I'll tell you what kind of data set that we will be working on, how we're going to use these dimensions even better. As I told you earlier, when you are working on conditional formatting, we have to select what data that you want to add, and then how you're going to use those data effectively. So that's the basic part of our data set will come into play. So first, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go back to the conditional formatting drop down list where I have default one. I have 5 different data as I said a while ago. When I go for highlight cell rules, again this is the most used one. Again, I'm planning to teach you as many components as possible here, but I'm not going to go for all of them because I'm allowing you to learn more about it, because I'm adding a conditional formatting Excel sheet which has 51 different functionality for us to use. So here we have conditional formatting on highlight cell rules, and then we have 4 of them on the number front, 1 on text, 1 on date, and 1 on duplicate values. Only on the first 5 functionality we will be able to use the cell based formatting, and later on we will not have that cushion. We will only use hard code formatting. So when I go back to this dimension, I have few of them, and when I go for top and bottom rules, I'm going to only use 2 of them here, above and below average. When I go back to data bar, I'll teach both the dimensions. When I go for color scale, I'll teach you 2 dimensions. When you go for icon sets, again I'll give you another dimensions that comes into play. Again, I'm not going to use all of them. I'm going to use few of them here. I'm leaving a lot of option for you to learn, and if you have any questions or if you are adding anything on the comment, you can do that. And one of my student who really appreciated my work, and then thank you Pavitra ma'am, and I have given you the file link here. Again, if you have an email address, just put it in my comment box in my YouTube channel, so I will add a separate link for you, or these files are small files at the moment, so I can add them. Again, in the near future we may not have the cushion of mailing to all of you, so please make sure that you are using the links here. The link will work for you properly, so try to use it with a proper internet connection. Though these are the files which will work irrespective of whether you use, because these are the files which you can download it directly. You don't want to log in to download it, so there is no separate point that I've kept here. And if you have any difficulties furthermore in downloading these files, please do let me know. So let's see how I'm going to use the first option. I'm going to use the first 2 of the options here called. The first option I'm going to use this dimension, the second option I'm going to use this dimension, and whatever change that I do in the greater than symbol, you can see that it's automatically reflecting on the less than symbol because I referred this cell here. I gave an equals and selected that cell reference here. So whatever I type, I don't want to give 2 different numbers, or I don't want to type manually here every time in both the boxes, because I'm going to take both the answers simultaneously in one single dimensions here. When you're using colors, again I'm sorry, I should not say this, but I have to say this because the colors sometimes will be a little lighter. You won't see standard colors very effectively here. So when I go for any kind of data sets here, so use the standard colors here. Don't try to use colors which is not that great, because I'm not a good person who have a very good color sense with me. My color sense are below par, rather I can say so. So when you're working on colors, again use the colors which is standardized in our data. So let me show you what is the standardized colors that we have here and how we can use them. Again, don't try to use the lighter colors because we have a lot of color options coming up here. Or if you have time, or if you are building something for the future, please use custom colors so that that sticks to your brand and other dimensions effectively. So I've selected the range right now because that's the first logic that I want to use when I use conditional formatting, and then I'm going to use highlight cell rules, and I'm going to call this as greater than. Normally when I click this, it gives you a pop-up. Again, this is the way you can use the hard code formatting here, nothing wrong in it. But again, if you want to change certain data and see how the data sets are working here, then hard code formatting is not an option of using it. Again, cell based formatting, you can use it. Again, as I told you, we have only 5 different scenarios where we can use a cell based formatting. The other things are rolled out for us. So wherever we have a cell based formatting, let's use it. So I'm going to remove this data and I'm going to use this cell reference as my feed of it. So the moment I do it, you can see the coloring is happening here. Again, I'm not very fond of what are the default colors that is the system gives you. System gives you only a few set of colors, which is a little lighter. So you can see that the colors, when I move it off, you won't see a bigger change in here. So you won't see anything that very vibrant when I work on these data set. I preferably use most of my time, or most of my conditional formatting options will be on the custom formats here. And then when I go back to custom format, you can choose 4 different way. I preferably pick up the fill and the font sizes here. So I'll go back to the fill option. I'm going to add a darker green, or maybe I'll use the color which is relevant for us. So I'll use a navy blue, and the font style will be bold and the font color will be white here. And when I choose that, you can see automatically my colors are changing here. You can see now this is visually very effective for us because it can tell you that how many numbers or how many values are above 3500 here or 3500 here. So if I convert this into 1500, as I use this as cell based formatting, I didn't manually, or I didn't use the hard code formatting in my system. I referred the cell here, which will make my life a little more dynamic than what it usually do for you. That's the only reason why I've used the cell based formatting here. Same way I want to do the other condition also. I'm going to select the range again, go back to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, less than. Again, I'm going to remove this data, select the less than symbol, and then again I'll do the custom formatting, which I love the most here. So I'm going to keep the darker red in place in here. Again, I'll make the bold and white font as my conditions here. So the moment I do that, now why I did the cell references, you can easily rate it. The moment I type this, the number will change. So that's going to give you the answer for both the dimensions here. I can see how many blues are there, how many reds are there. So as my numbers are growing bigger, my blues will reduce. As the number becomes shorter, my blues will become more. How many values are below 500 is only 2 here. So it's visually giving you a queue of ideas a little better. Again, I won't say that conditional formatting is the go-to function for every aspect of your workout, but again, conditional formatting will really make your life a little better. So conditional formatting allows you to do that, and this is how we play around with conditional formatting here. Again, another place where I'll use cell-based formatting is on the next set of formula on the same highlight cell rules, where I'm going to use the 5th option called text that contains. Again, when I go down here, again I have a choice of choosing cell references here. So I'm going to go back to this data, select it, and then I'm going to select this as my condition here. Again, when I go for the text coloring, again it is going to say text that contains. So you can just backspace this data set here, and then you can choose whatever you want to do with it. So I'm going to go back to this highlight. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of kind of a weird answers that comes in place. So I'm going to give a backspace here. I'm selecting the cell references, and then I'll go back to my data, color them only at the background side. I'm going to give an orange here. And when I use this data set, again remember that text that contains is not a case sensitivity based coloring here. Whether you are having all capital data set comes in place, whether you're going to use all small data, it's going to always color the data perfectly. So you can see that I'm typing something here which is either proper case, upper case, or lower case. Every aspects of the data will still remain same. Again, text that contains is going to take the data wherever we fill it. So you can see that whatever I do right now, that's going to give you the coloring accordingly. As I mentioned, this is a cell based formatting, so whatever change that I do to the cell above, that's going to give you the data set completely for you. So whether I'm going to fill all of them in a singular case or in a smaller case or in a bigger case, it doesn't matter. The system is going to color everything. And if I give a blank, that's going to give coloring for all of them, because I have a blank cell also in the cell references here. So this is how we can play around with text that contains here. Again, we have few more dimension. Again, the next logic on the highlight cell rules will be on the data coloring. This is where we are curtailed to lower data set. This is where I may not able to use something which I wish to use in my data set, which I don't have at the moment. You can see that it is coming out with a data here, and then you can see that it is only giving you a drop down for certain areas here. This is where our cell based formatting will be an out of option for us. We will not have anything to do furthermore. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to select this. Again, please do remember that this will not work for me at the moment, because I'm using a date which is belong to last year, not maybe last year to the last year rather. I'm not even using the current point. So I'm going to use a today function which I've used in my date and time functionality. So that's gonna really make my life a little more better, because this will make my life more relevant as I go forward. Now if I use the conditional formatting, that's going to work for me. And if you closely watch, I created a formula here. I said I want a 7-day interval between the full list of data. I'm going to select this, go back to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, date occurring, and the drop down will allow you to select what you want. I want all the next month dates to be colored here, so I'm going to just go for the next month date here, and then that's going to color me. Again, if I go back to the data set here, if you want to work a little differently, you want current month, previous month, and next month, then I preferably use the data called 112 here instead of using the today's date, because that's going to give you the dates in a different dimension. So I can pick up 3 different conditions here. I can either go for the last month, I can go for the current month, I can go for the next month also. So you can, the coloring is automatically happening here. Again, if I go back to my older data, so let me just Ctrl+Z twice and then select this data and then try to color them up, nothing will happen because the dates are not relevant to any of these dates here. So when I put them all, nothing will happen because there is nothing that talks about the current 3 months. Again, when I go for the drop down here, the drop down allows you to go for the maximum number of 3 months here, the previous month, next month, and the current month here. That's why I mentioned something like this, so which will make my life a little more better. So now if I choose this, that's going to give you 3 different dimensions that I can choose here. I can either pick up the current month, or I can pick up the, sorry about that, I just picked the wrong option here. So when I go down here, you can see that next month, last month, current month can be colored automatically here. So I'm going to color this with a lighter fill here, the font into white. The biggest problem when I go for a hard code formatting is why I really hate it to the core is for one good reason, because if I want to change this condition right now, I cannot change like I did on top. So in the top I typed it like this, in the bottom I can type something like this, but here I cannot have the facility of typing something here. If you want to change this, the rule number 1 is I have to select the range, because if I don't do that, the system will not showcase my conditional formatting at all. My conditional formatting rule manager will not showcase that because I don't have a selection coming up here. So now I have to go for the entire workbook and see all the conditions here. That's going to make my life a little more messy here. So to make sure to go to the exact coloring zone, so I select this range first. This is what the real headache or pain when I use hard code formatting. Then I'm going to go and manage rules. Now it shows only that ranges coloring part. Now I can just go back to edit and then change the rule to the next month and then give an OK here and an OK here. That's going to change the entire dimension. Again, converting or changing the results to a newer dimension will be a little more cumbersome or a lengthy aspects for us when we come back to hard code formatting. That's why I hate hard code formatting. There is one more thing that I want to teach you in the first rule, that is called the duplicate values or unique values. So when I click back this drop down, again I'm going back to the hard code formatting. This is a little better because again I know that when I want to change this to a unique to a duplicate to unique, that I have to select the range, go to the manager and do all changes that's required for me. Again, without selection, that's going to become even more cumbersome for me. So now I'm going to select all my unique valuation and then color them all with a one single background color here. So now if I want to change this to duplicate valuation, then I have to select this range, go back to conditional formatting and manage rules and edit this and then change this to duplicate here and then give an OK. There is a keyboard shortcut is available after you selected the data. You can use Alt-OD. The Alt-OD will take you to the conditional formatting rule manager directly. At least I don't want to use the mouse over to click down and the drop down to the last line. I can just give an Alt-OD and edit the data and then start doing it. This will be a little faster for you. So you can use that as one of your lists. This is what we can learn in our highlight cell rules here, which will talk about greater than, less than. I talked about it. Between and equal to is given to you. Text that contains date occurring and duplicate valuation when you're working on dates. So that is coming in the recent 3-month time, previous month, current month and next month. So see to the dates are coming on that scenario. For the duplicate valuation, there is no such scenario. It can work in any data because the first 3 option works on one kind of a data set. The first 4 will be on the numbers, the 5th one will be on the text, the 6th one will be on date, the last one is going to be a universal formula, whether it is on the date, whether it is on the value of the numbers, or whether it is the text. Everywhere that function will work for you. From now on, we are about to make our life a little more easier. Again, sometimes reconciling this logics will become even more cumbersome for us. This is what we're going to learn from the next logic. The next logic that we're going to learn is called top and bottom rule. As I told you, I'm going to talk about the first 2 dimensions. Again, the plus point of top and bottom rule is I can select the top 10 item either by the numbers or by the percentage here. That happens on the bottom part too. So now I'm going to select this range. I want to find out the average value of it, and then I want to color them anything and everything with a specific color dimensions here. So I've given a color here for above average and below average to check out. Let me just see whether I can able to select the same colors here also. So I'm going to go back to conditional formatting. I'm going to go for top and bottom row. I'll say above average. The system will not give you any formulas. It is like our crayons book that we got when we are very young, where we can only color it. So that's what we will be doing it in here also. So I'm going to select this data and then color the dimension that I'm looking forward. I'm going to give an OK and an OK here. I could have used the font color here and use it in the same way. If I want to go for a below average, I'm going to select the data set here, conditional formatting, top and bottom rule, below average, and then change the color to orange. So you can set this dimension. Again, if you closely watch, I have created an average formula here. This is for my satisfaction. I did it. It doesn't need to be there. It still works for you, but again, for satisfying my need, or I am concluding that this is colored correctly. So that's why I made an average formula in my right hand side of text to the data set where I'm going to color it. And you can see that the colors are going above average are coming perfectly. Below average is also coming pretty perfectly for us. This is how we'll use top and bottom rule in conditional formatting. Again, the next logic is called a data bar, or I'll call this as the most colorful option of it. So let me just pick up this data and then show you how I'm going to use this data. Let me just take this data and then bring it here because I'm going to use this data. So when I go down to this data set, so you can see that my data comes in 3 different columns. When I go for the conditional formatting, again as usual, I'm going to select the range where I want to color them up. I'll go to conditional formatting. I'm going to go for data bar, and then I have 2 variants here coming up. One is going to gradient fill, another one is called a solid fill here. So when I go for gradient fill, my color will be 2 colored here. I'll be having whitish, the specific color that I choose. Where now I'm picking up a purple data bar, but it colors with 2 different dimensions here. Same way, I'm going to select the solid bar, and then again I'm going to use the same color again. This time around you can see the differences really very nicely here. Again, this will look like a graphical representation for you. Yes, it does look like it. Again, I numbered it so very well that it looks pretty good here. So if I make some weird changes here, that's where my real challenge is going to come into play. Let me just show you what I'm trying to do. I'm going to change this to 1000 here. The moment I do it, my entire coloring goes for a win, because that's why I said I've mastered it perfectly here. So if there is a number that comes in play. Most of the numbers are 2 digits here. There is one number that comes as 3 digit. Wherever we have 3 digit number, the bar comes for the entire cell. There are numbers are reducing, the bars are adjusting according to the numbers that we have here. That's how the data bar will showcase it. If you want to see some valuation, so if I want to see this valuation, how good it is, so this is going to give you information nicely, because I don't have any 2 digit numbers here. When I still use the data bar here, it's going to really make my life beautiful. So you can see that visually I can see how good something, or the highest number is what, the lowest number is what. To a greater extent, I can find the lowest number very easily. Again, if the numbers are closely ranged like I have in here, then I'll be in a spot of bother. But again, still I can figure out in these 2 which one is smallest one. If the number is very large, this will be a very handy tool to read a data better. The advantage of this is, so I'm going to keep the grades in one column, I'm coloring them in 2 different dimensions. If I cannot able to see the numbers here, no problem, I can remove that, or I can make it invisible for me. So I'm going to go back to my conditional formatting, manage rules, and then I'm going to edit the rule and say the system to please show the bar alone. I'll check box here, and you have a lot more options here. I'm not going into these, I'm just adding what is what in a conditional formatting here. So the moment I do that, the numbers disappear here. So I'm going to select this data again, go to conditional formatting, manage rules, and then I'm going to just edit the rule and then I say show the bar alone. By that way, it showcases as if the number is coming from the grade column, but unfortunately each and every column has its own number in it. The only thing is I've made it invisible so that you will not see that as a data set here. This is how we can play around with data bar for us. Wherever we want to work around with a number, wherever you want to just showcase the number that looks a little different and I want to visually see what's happening in the data set, you can do that with these. So I'm just showing how I'm going to use this data better. And then select this data. If you want to format them, you can format them by the specific data. So I just changed that to the currency symbol of India. Then I'm gonna bring the color combination to come into place. So now we can see that very clearly. If you have a sales data sometime and you want to see how the sales are averaging out, and you can see that how many lower sales that is happening in a range. I have 3 sale value which is lower than what we have in a data set here. So this is how our data will work for you in a data set when we are working on conditional formatting here. So now I go back to the data sets here, and then I'm going to use the 4th option, which is again beautiful option of it. I use this in my stock analysis generally. If you want to use it somewhere else, you can use it. Again, I'm just starting with a simple logic here. So I'm going to color them in 3 different dimensions here. So I'll go to conditional formatting, I'm going to select color, scale, and then I'm going to select a color here. You can select the color in any which way that you want. I want to keep the first order in place where I just picked up the data, and you can see that my lowest numbers are coming in colors. Again, as I told you a while ago, I'm not very good at color scales, and then I'm not good at mentioning the color. For me, WebGR is the colors that I really know. I'm not very good at colors, but if you talk to a woman, probably they will color this out beautifully. They say that lemon yellow, maybe mango yellow, they will say leaf green, olive green, they'll say parrot green, they'll say orange, red. They'll find a lot of colors. If you ask me, I'm seeing red, yellow and green, or I'll just say RGB, red, green, and I don't have a blue here, I see red and green here for sure. So that way it works for you. And this is color scale. Again, if you want to see a subtle variant in a data set, you can do that. Again, if I put them in a unsorted data, so now this is sorted data. If I put them in an unsorted data, this is gonna do wonders for us. You will literally know where we have red numbers coming up here, where we have a green numbers coming up here, so where we have an averages are coming up here. My averages are more than my green and red here. So that's how it works. So identifying it visually, capturing a data set, conditional formatting will be a beauty option of it for all of us. Again, the most used one by me is on the last front, that is called icon sets. When I come back to icon sets will be the beauty of our data set. Again, when I use icon sets, I have a little issues which I have to address. So when I select this range, now I want to color them with a specific dimension. So I'm going to go back and give an icon sets and say tick, exclamatory mark and X mark. I want to just add this as an indicator for me. When I do that, it's giving you a number, but I really don't know how it gives you that tick mark, how it gives you that exclamatory mark. I don't know how it gives you the X mark. To find out that, I'll go back to my conditional formatting, I'll go to manage rules, and when I edit the rule, this is the rule that it says that this is what it does for you. It takes all the values in percentage here. Again, I'm not going to do that when I work on this data, because this is readability will become really better because I have everything in number, not in percent. Converting that and understanding it is going to become really tough for you. That's where I'm going to use one of the data set that I have in here, which is when I have a value anything lesser than that, I want a wrong symbol. When I have anything between 40, okay, I'll just change the component here. So let me just come back here and then I'll change this to 41 to 80, and then 80, anything above 80, anything above 80 will be the right symbol here. So I'm going to select this range. I'm going to edit this formula. Again, when I do that, it is like I'm going to use the way in which an Arabic is read or Arabic is written. Normally when you read Quran, you won't read it from left to right like we normally do. We do it from right to left. There is a lot of reason behind it. The same way I'm going to use that in our conditional formatting here, where I'm going to start from the rightmost part of the data set to do it. Because if I make a change here, I'll say that anything is above 80 is going to be 80, and then I'm going to change this to 80 above, and then I'm going to just say change this to number, then this will become 0 again. So I cannot keep doing it. So I'm going to just take the type first and then change the number later, and then change the symbolization that I want to deal with it. The same way I'm going to start with a number, take the numbers again, and then I'm going to say that anything greater than that will be this one. So now I know that my conditions are satisfied here. When I say greater than 40, then 41 will be the number here. If you want to be more specific here, then I say greater than or equal to 41. You can be more specific here, or you can just follow whatever I just wrote as a condition here. And then I'm going to give an OK, and then I'm going to give an OK. That's going to give you a different dimension altogether. Now I can disappear this number also out of this equation. So go back to conditional formatting, manage rules, edit, and then say please show the icon alone, don't show anything other than that. When you do that, automatically my icon will be centered here, like we do a logical test or an error symbol that comes into play. Now if you closely watch, anything that I have here as a number will work out. Again, if I give 41, then my X will change to exclamatory mark. When I give 81, that's going to change this to tick mark here. So this is going to change the data set, and I have the symbolization coming up here. Probably if I can able to put the symbols in here than just writing them, that would be even better. So let me just try to add this with the dimensions here. So I'm going to go for 40, I'm going to go for 60, I'm going to go for 82. So I'm going to select all of them, and then I'm going to just bring the conditional formatting that I did right now, and you can see that the symbolization coming into play. And now with the manage rules, I can just showcase that alone, so that what symbolization that I'm using in here will be automized here nicely. So anything above 80 will be a tick mark, and I'm just literally showcasing the data exactly how the category displays. The same categorization I did it, instead of just marking them in a specific dimension, I did two different conditional formatting for us. So this is conditional formatting in our data sets. So again, I promise you to do more than this. I know that conditional formatting will take a little longer than normal, so we will wind up our session with this. So when we come back tomorrow, we will talk about more on our home tab, where I'm going to talk about sort and filter a bit. Then I'll jump from our home tab to my insert tab tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to talk about a lot more options, and then we will learn more on those dimensions too. So with this, I'll end our session today. Thank you so much, super users. We will get back shortly, and then we will see how we're going to use all these dimensions very effectively. And we are learning more. And if you are not seen the whole data sets already, please do work on it. And then we are going to see a lot more formula. Today we saw two different logics of our ribbon functions out of the 30. One is copy clipboard option, and the next one will be the one which is called conditional formatting. We have finished these two dimensions. I did conditional formatting at a basic level, not in any other capacity possible. I'll sign out with this today. and have a good day guys ahead. And this is Excel user series 6.2 and we are learning Excel super user program, and this is at the intermediary and to advanced level on day 6 for us. Thank you so much guys, have a great day ahead. Cheers.